Wow. Welcome to the Vale of Pewsey. Now this week's video is all about utilising what is here. I've just got a stunning spot. I think they call this place the Bowl, and I believe it was formed way back, you know, when there was lots of ice. And you've got these lovely ridges, big bowl, which sort of swoops around in a lovely S-bend right round, and then you can see the sun is going to be setting over to my right hand side. And I'm not sure if I'm going to include the sun. I'm thinking of doing a pano to try and get everything in, just because it's such a stunning spot. But I'm not entirely sure yet. It was a bit of a trek getting here. I feel a little bit rushed, but I've got, you say, the hour till sunset. So obviously the left hand side of this bowl is going to the right hand side of this bowl, sorry, is going to get that shadow's going to creep slowly down towards my left hand side of my frame. But the sky is featureless. It is absolutely clear blue, and you can see from my face the sun is very harsh, so it's going to be a tricky one to expose. I don't think we'll be using a polarizer. Well, now I've found my composition, I've got my focus set up. I'm focused pretty much to infinity. I'm set quite high from the immediate foreground, and obviously the distance is quite far away as well. So I focus to infinity. Like I said, I'm far enough away from the foreground. I'm at f16 because there's a huge amount of depth of field here, huge amount of distance between my foreground and my far distance. Obviously in portrait orientation, I'm around a 40th of a second in ISO 100. Like I said, f16, and that's, like I said, that's giving me a 40th of a second. More like a 30th of a second. I realise I've just said, like I said, several times, and I'm not using a polarizer, like I said earlier. That was the last time. Just because of the pano, stitching the pano creates like a weird vignette, especially on a blue sky. I've put minimal amount of sky because it's just, the sky is horrendous. It's just completely clear blue. Just, yeah, not particularly good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to practice my sweep across, and just make sure I've nailed my focus before this. I know the conditions are a little bit harsh. I'm hoping once that sun gets towards the horizon, it's going to just sort of bathe this with nice warm light rather than sort of harsh yellow light. And obviously the shadow area in the middle now is on this hill. There's like a hill here, and the shadow area is just incredible. So, and it's changing literally by the second. Obviously as that sun comes down, that shadow is creeping across my frame, changing my composition, changing my exposure, and it's quite challenging, especially when you're doing such a big pano, a sweeping pano. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I just wish there was a bit more interest in the sky. So I'm going to do a quick sweep, make sure I'm happy, then I'm going to start putting some, I'm going to have to probably put a 3 or 4 stop soft grad in the sky to try and hold back that detail. And as the sun sets and it gets softer, I'll either better take that out or reduce it to maybe a 2-stop soft. So all I'm going to do is use a case grad filter, no polarizer. Yeah, simple in terms of filters. Yeah, should be quite nice. Hopefully that wind dies down a little bit as well. Right, I've had to ditch the filters because I'm getting really bad lens flare, because I'm obviously shooting into the sun, and as I pan round sort of 90 degrees or centre of my pano, then I'm getting side light hitting the element of my lens, which is bad enough. Plus, if I had filters on, it's causing grief. So I'm having to bracket stop and a half either side, just to get me in that dynamic range that the filters were helping me out with. It's a bit annoying, but yeah, that's what it is. So I'm around a 30th of a second f/16, and I'm still panning left and right as the light changes. I better crack on because it's pretty crash bang wallop, and that sun will be gone any minute. And it's just a case of keep going round and round and round, taking my shots, and this light is just getting warmer and warmer and less harsh, and I'm getting less lens flare. And also another little tip, when you're taking bracketed shots, or bracketed shots full stop, always put your hand in front of your lens, take a shot, and then to turn your bracketing off, take a shot with your hand in, turn your bracketing back on, and then take your series of bracketed pano shots. Then you know when you go to Lightroom where they are in your sequence. Right, I think I've got the best of the light. It's starting to really mellow. I've got a little bit of warm light on the start of when I started my pano, but as I get halfway around, it's completely flat now. The sun it's just nice to watch the sun. You can see from my face and my camera, I've got a little bit of ambient light, but it is starting to really soften. The pano doesn't work now with the light I've got. It's just nice to watch the sun go down. It is a shame that maybe I didn't have another comp to fall back on once the light had gone from my pano. And tips wise for panoramics, you have to keep your exposures exactly the same. I was bracketing to try and to deal with the dynamic range. So I'm shooting in manual mode so that I can control everything right through my pano. I don't want anything to change because I don't want any hiccups. I need Lightroom to be able to have a set of images that are exactly the same right through. Obviously, the closer I go to the sun, the exposure is going to brighten, but you need that exposure. You can't start adjusting shutter speed and things like that to try and. You just have to sort of expose for your brightest part and sweep round and take your pano, and focus as well. I focus to infinity because I haven't got something so close to me that it's going to cause an issue of depth of field. I've got a very large depth of field, but shooting at f/16 to infinity, everything's going to be sharp in perfect sharp focus. So yeah, you have to make sure that your focus is the same. So stick it to manual, so when you're panning around, your focus is not going to change. You have to have a level tripod. It doesn't have to be nothing fancy, no fancy tripods, but a level tripod. Plonk your legs down. I like to put my legs down, level them, and then when I jab it in, then I'm somewhere near. I find if you jab it in with a tripod with the spikes, the legs go really rigid and it's hard to level your tripod up. So you have to have a level base to shoot your panoramics from. And don't use a circular polarizer when you've got big blue skies like this, because it will create issues with big blue skies. If you've got detail, storm, texture in your clay, it's fine, but just avoid blue skies, avoid CPLs with your blue skies. And I did, like I said, I almost said like I said, I ditched the filters just because of that side, that light hitting on the side, and I was getting sort of glare across the front filter, and plus I had to stack a 3 and a 4 stop in front to hold back the dynamic range was just too great. With the crop sensor, I need plan A, B and C to be able to grab all that data, so that when I get to Lightroom I don't bawl my eyes out because I haven't got an image to go to my video because I cocked it up. So I had to bracket. So yeah, there's just some tips that and some processes that I go through every time I take a pano. I don't do many of them, I must admit. I don't do many panos. But like any process that I always go through when taking an image, I have my own process for panoramics, and that seemed to serve me well. So focus, exposure, keep it the same right through the pano for Lightroom. Avoid CPLs or blue skies, and just be careful with filters when you're doing panoramics with lens flare. And also hold your hand in front of your lens, way out in the distance. Just experiment with it. You'll be surprised how far it feels like you're going to put your hand in front of the lens, but when you're looking through the view, when you're looking through live view, you can really adjust where your hand is, and you'll be surprised how horrendous lens flares can be removed by just hanging your hand out, not in shot, and it will just eliminate the lens flares. So yeah, some little tips for you. So fingers crossed this pano works, because I've invested quite a lot of time. I've walked so far from the car. It would have been easier just to walk from Kirsty's mum's house than where I've parked my van. So yeah, I've got a long walk back. Hopefully I've got some nice warm tea for dinner because I am starving. Yeah, so looking forward to a bit of warm grub, maybe even a beer. Yeah, I might even have a beer. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is the bowl down at the Vale of Pewsey, and this is going to be my first pano of the area. Fingers crossed it stitches together. Like, share and subscribe, and don't forget, if you are interested in one-to-ones and small groups of workshops here in Wiltshire or in Cornwall, just go to my website photoninjaphotography.com and we'll get you booked in. Right, enough rambling, more walking and some more food, because I am starving. Ciao.